You make the protocol do the work. You can't trust people, but you can trust code, or at least you can trust code more. The challenge here is everybody knows who is technically involved in this, that Bitcoin is really bad on privacy. I think the only people who do it worse actually are Ethereum, and that's because they use the account-based model as opposed to the address-based model. But a lot of people only use like one account, so they see it's like as if you were using Bitcoin, you were just reusing the same wallet. You get this giant history cruft that just follows you wherever, and then you create all these chain explorers, and then people see every smart contract you've interacted with on Ethereum, and it's problematic. Bitcoin suffers from the same thing, but at least largely because there's not as much contract-based activity on Bitcoin. They only see address A sends to address B and so on. They follow it out. They chart it. They see where it splits on the chain, and then they try to go where it goes back to a common node, or they track spends, or they go where it goes through KYC gateways, and they find out with the tools that I had at the NSA in like 2013. Tracking Bitcoin transactions would have been very, very easy. And this is why, even though I used Bitcoin to rent the servers that I used for communicating with journalists and passing, massive archive files over the internet anonymously, I was using Tor, I was using sort of mixing services. I was trying to basically do anything that would buy time. It wasn't that I thought the NSA wouldn't be able to follow the trail. It was that, I'd have to go to this guy, and then I'd get routed over to the office, and then they wait on it because they had other things to do. And it wasn't until there would be a sustained effort that they would be able to do this. And by then, I would have already contacted the journalists, so the door would be closed. Normal Bitcoin users don't have that level of awareness. They don't understand the network flows. They don't understand simply your IP address sending, this transaction to this node that then passes it on. All of that leaves a history that is largely being recorded. There are ways on Bitcoin that they can improve this, and that are done like coin join transactions and the whole join market thing, which are great, but they're way too technical for average people. We see some wallet providers who are trying to build in their own mixers, and that's great. It's an improvement, but it's really not enough. You have to have this stuff in the protocol. It has to happen on chain. And that's where you see things like, Monero is great. I use Monero, right? Now, people think I'm like a super Monero hater, and no, they've got a couple super toxic people in their community. And there were some bad design decisions like a million years ago. And it's not perfect, right? But what is? Zcash has its own flaws too. And then Zcash, it's also great, but for a lot of people, they're not using the shielded transactions, or at least they weren't using the shielded transactions. Now it's getting easier. They've got mobile clients that will you'll do a transparent transaction, and then it'll roll you over to a shielded transaction automatically. And these things are great. This is what we need, though. We need people to be able to transact on chain at any time and effortlessly without their awareness. The same way that when you connect to, Gmail through a web browser, it's using HTTPS. You should have levels of privacy protection baked into the protocol. And this prevents the kind of tomfoolery that we see the U.S. government beginning to engage in with things like OFAC and Tornado Cash. I think members of the public, certainly, they don't even know that this happened. But members of the crypto community largely aren't taking this seriously enough. This is absolutely a do or die moment for the relationship between the network and the state. And I'll get into that a little bit more, but there is a level of technical innocence, or less charitably ignorance, that people need to understand the average person has, right? What is happening now is what happened and destroyed the spirit of the original web. I think a lot of people who are in this room, they've been technical for a very long time. They've been a part of the internet for a very long time. They've seen it change. A lot of you in the room remember what dial-up modems sound like, right? That's not actually shared by the vast majority of the population, even people who are of the right age. And we lost that internet because we onboarded billions of people, and the people who were providing the gateways for that didn't have their best interests at heart, right? That's what we're seeing now. We're seeing people exploiting the kind of ignorance that made so many people now think tapping like the Facebook app on your phone, that's the internet as they understand it. And now think, crypto is Coinbase, right? or something else equally horrible as that. And to you, those of you in the room who are, work for Coinbase, it's really nothing personal. You're just an example, sort of overly compliant, overly indulgent sort of thinking, which, yeah, you guys get rich, you'll make a lot of money, but have you actually sort of advanced the interests of society? Maybe in the same way that people sell lawnmowers do. You're not even building lawnmowers, you're selling them. Great, you've popularized the lawnmower. Lawnmowers are important, they're valuable, right? But when I go and buy a lawnmower, nobody asks for me to hold up my passport and scan my face. And the fact that you guys go along with that is frankly toxic and embarrassing. The big players will become the sizable entities in the field. We know that works. That's simply sort of efficiencies of scale. It's going to happen here. My plea to those of you who are in that sort of big end of the pool is, if you're going to cave strategically. Leave space for the protocol and for the sort of values that we're all supposed to be representing here, to make sure that, yeah, the government wants to do something and they can layer some law on you because you're big, you've got 10 million employees, and they can all come and arrest you. But make sure that, yeah, if you are a stub, and you have to check passports and you have to identify wallets to go, one hop out, you understand and you structure your systems in such a way, and everyone understands that that's fine. But as soon as somebody goes one more hop out to the second hop, they move to the other wallet, your trail goes cold. And when it comes back into your exchange, you have to ask people what their purposes are. They declare this, whatever, but you really have no way of checking it. And you don't want to be in a position where you can check that, because really that's not your role in society, even the government says it is. That's for police, that's for intelligence, right? That's their job, and their job is supposed to be hard. Don't make their lives easier, right? There's this whole mindset in government, and this argument for everybody who's been following cryptography, we know about like going dark. They're like, oh, we want to peel back WhatsApp's encryption. We want to make sure that Apple doesn't turn on end-to-end encryption. We want to make sure they push all their crap to the iCloud in unencrypted backups, or backups to which Apple has the keys, the police can request them, or weak keys, the police can crack them. And every time Apple gets close to doing that, they go and complain, and they go, well, we're going to cause problems, we're going to pass a law if you do this. So Apple caves, they re-engineer things to make it sort of problematic again. Understand the difference between their job and their role in society and your job. The job of policing is supposed to be hard, because if it's not, we live in a police state. We don't want everything we do to be scrutinized. We don't want every transaction to be monitored. We don't want to show our passports to do lawnmowers. And the government has more power and more capability now than they ever have at any point in history. Do not be charitable. Do not be generous to them. They don't need more help. They don't need more tools. They don't need more weapons. They have enough, and they're reorganizing society to itself be a weapon.